Hey everybody, Jeff from Elk Mountain Gear, and welcome to part 2 of dynamic decoying. Today I wanted to discuss solo tactics and some of the scenarios you might get in as a solo hunter, and how you can capitalize on having a decoy in hand. We'll go ahead and get started. So a lot of times the elk just aren't playing the game. It may be, fair weather and they've just gone silent. A lot of times it could be hunting pressure, or just early season elk in general aren't as vocal, which makes them really hard to hunt. One way you can deal with this is by doing cold calling setups. And the things that you want to remember, one thing, you want to kind of try to get yourself in a spot barricaded where the elk have to come out in a lane where you can see them. That's not always going to work. Are they going to sneak in behind you? Yes, and it happens a lot. Or to one side. Watch the wind, of course. That's your primary thing. And just try to create an interesting scenario. You can, there's a couple ways to go about it. You can call, maybe every 15 minutes, just soft cow calls, or you can do a full-blown breeding sequence where you've got, cow and calf mews mixed in with hyper hot cows, and occasionally a bull, glunking or squealing to try to keep everything together, and that can be pretty effective for younger bulls in the early season, especially because they're feeling their oats and they just can't resist getting in on some action like that if you're convincing. It can also be a hunter magnet, so beware of that. Anyway, I'll demonstrate one of those right now with the elk butt decoy. So as the season moves toward mid-September and the bulls get more vocal and aggressive, that's when decoying can become truly dynamic. And if you're in the middle of that, you are going to have some fun. And I'll show you a few common scenarios you may run into with vocal bulls and trying to convert situations so that you can get an arrow in the boiler room on some of these bulls. So since we don't have real elk to work with, I'm going to use Buford here as our demo model and run through a few common scenarios that you may run into in the elk woods when you're out hunting solo, and how you can deal with them. So ideally you're going to want to locate a bull by sight or sound and try to get into what I like to term his comfort zone, which would be around 80 yards or so. And you're going to use aggressive tactics to try to get a shooting laying on that bull and get him in bow range. And The most common way you're going to do that is to basically plant your decoy, call, and then move ahead of the decoy, always keeping the wind in mind and realizing that that bull is probably going to, once he sees the decoy, try to come in and catch the wind off the decoy. So that's going to give you some clues about where he might approach. Are they going to do that every time? No, they're going to mess with you, and it's not 100%. But yeah, it's an effective way to get the bull's attention on the decoy, and you can get a draw opportunity that way. And I'll just run through a simple setup. So when you're working toward a vocal bull, a lot of times you'll be moving toward his position and he can be on you. And in this case, we're gonna say that I've got a bull down here at about 10 yards through the trees. Could be brush country, this happens a lot, and I have no shot. What am I gonna do? You know, a lot of times they're only going to buy it for so long if they have cows, you know, so they're going to be looking for you. And if they don't see the visual confirmation, it's game over. One thing you can do is do a scenario where you're actually a threat to him, in a sense that making him think that you've hooked one of his cows or a cow and that you're trying to move off with it. And I'll show you what that looks like from the bull's perspective. So the object of this maneuver is to try to back that bull and tow him, keep his interest, tow him into a lane where you can get a shot at him and hopefully be able to stop him with a nervous grunt or a quick cow call and get an arrow in him. I can't begin to count the number of times that we've been out when the bulls are really vocal, and you'll get a bull back through the timber, maybe, you know, 50, 60 yards, and he's firing off at you, and basically at that point you're trying to call him in and he's still screaming, but he's moving off. And you know, it's a tough situation because you feel like you're pinned down and afraid to advance. One tactic that actually works is just to act like a super excited cow and just run right at him. And with the slip system as a shield, this can be really effective. And the way I do it is try to move in, run in on the bull with the decoy out front, plant the decoy next to a big tree, and then use the tree for cover to draw on the bull when he steps out. So I'll demonstrate that for you. Well, you can see that our efforts paid off, and we got us a dead bull here. I hope you guys enjoyed these situation scenarios that I set up, and in part 3 we'll be talking about team hunting tactics and what you can do to use the decoys effectively in a team hunting situation. It can be quite deadly. Stay tuned.